This is level P, list 4, and we're doing the day 1 page, and here we're looking at the prefixes miss and dis. So miss suggests a negative and dis means not. So if we go through these words and have a look at highlighting the dis in dismay, distrust, disown, displease, disallow, and the miss in mistake, misplace, mislead or misled, misread and misprint, then you can go through and highlight the base words in all of these words as well. Now let's have a look at those base words. In may, you've got the AY, making the long A sound at the end of a word. Distrust is pretty easy. In own, you've got that OW, making the O sound. In please, you've got the EA, making the long E sound. And SE, please, is making, the SE is making the Z sound on the end of that word. Disallow, you've got a short vowel sound here, that's why you're doubling the L, and you've got the ow sound with the OW. Mistake, you've got the E making the A make a long sound, and we know after a long sound we use a K. Misplace, we've got the E making the A make a long sound, and the CE at the end is making that S ending. Mislead or misled, EA can make both a long and a short vowel sound, so you'll have to use it accordingly. Misread or misread is the same. Print is quite an easy one. So if you're breaking these words into syllables, you're pretty much going to break them after the prefix, so it would be like that. So you've got, that's forming, all of these prefixes are forming a closed syllable because it's a short vowel and we're closing it with the consonant, but also because it is a prefix, we're using it, we're splitting the word after that. Now what do these words mean? Dismay means distress, distrust means suspicion, disown means when you're cast aside or something's cast aside from a family, displease is when you make someone unhappy, disallow is when you refuse something, mistake is an error, misplace is when you lose something, mislead is when you give the wrong impression or you're taken the wrong way, misread or misread means it's read incorrectly, and misprint means that it's printed incorrectly. Let's go back and read those words, break them into their syllables and then write them. So dismay would be dismay, 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 D-I-S-M-A-Y, 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 and then we write it 3 times. Don't forget to go back and check that you've spelt it correctly. You can finish those. In this list, we're looking at the prefixes dis and miss. So we've got dismay, distrust, disown, displease, disallow, mistake, misplace, mislead, misread or misread, and misprint. And this could be mislead or misled. So just be aware that all these base words should be very easy for you because they're words you previously learnt. Down here you have to write the list word to match the meaning, so you're going to be using those words to fill in those gaps. Down the bottom you've got some gaps in these sentences, so you're going to have to read the sentences and use the words above to finish those sentences. So make sure you choose a word that makes sense in the sentence that you're completing. In this list we're looking at the prefixes dis and miss. You can read through those and cover the words before you write them on the line. In this section here you're looking at the verb tense. So we've used one of the verbs in each sentence incorrectly. You're going to have to change its ending or its tense by adding s, ing or ed on the end. Now down the bottom we've given you some longer words, so we've got mistaken and displeasure. You actually have to write the base word for each, but use it in its extended form, as we've given you here in a sentence. This page is a revision of prefixes and suffixes. So prefixes is the pattern of sounds that are joined to the start of a base word, and they're generally pretty easy to spell. So we've got some here, we've got dis, miss and un. You know, with miss you're taking off the double S, so you're only having one S there, so just be aware of that. but really prefixes are very easy to add to the start of a word, and they usually change the meaning of the base word. So the word happy can go to unhappy just by adding the prefix un. Now suffixes are a pattern of sounds that are joined to the end of a base word, and they quite often change the function or the structure of the word. So it can change a word from a singular noun to a plural noun, it can change it to an adjective, an adverb, or a verb. So you can do a lot of things by adding a suffix to the end of a word. Now just be aware when you're doing that even though when we add less and ness to the end of a word we keep the double S, when we add full to the end of a word we drop the L. So from a spelling point of view, adding a suffix to the end of a word, the end of a base word, is the tricky part, because you've got to know when to change a Y to an I or not. So there are all sorts of things to be aware of, but we've given you some nice easy ones today. So it's just breaking the words up basically into the base word plus the affix, whether it be a prefix or a suffix.